Hello everyone and welcome back guys to round 11 of the F1 2020 McLaren driver career mode, where today we're here back for the Austrian Grand Prix. Now obviously if you missed out on the last one that went live over the weekend, I would definitely recommend going back and checking it out. It was, yeah, quite possibly the best race so far we've had as a team in this McLaren series so far. But obviously if you don't want spoilers, go check out that video. There will be spoilers in 3, 2, 1. Now, last time out then, we managed to get second and third place between myself and Lando Norris in the French Grand Prix. The Hamilton's on a 3-race win streak at the moment and looking to try and make a bit of a comeback in the championship fight there. But we are still now just 5 points behind Sebastian Vettel there. Lando Norris just 5 back from Max Verstappen as well. So it's all looking rather tight in the sort of Ferrari, McLaren, Red Bull battle at the moment. You can see we're still 50 points clear of Red Bull in the Constructors' Championship and about another 70 points off Ferrari at the moment. But we're getting into a good groove with the car. You can see performance-wise, we're basically there with Red Bull and Ferrari nowadays. And Lando Norris has done some fantastic races as well to really prove us as challengers to those guys. Hopefully this weekend we can get another upgrade on the car. We're probably looking at another powertrain upgrade. We'll be aiming to probably, try and get either the ECU or the energy stores upgrade on the car, unless of course we can go with the ignition system, which seems to give us a little bit more. But the best way to do that is dive into free practice. But let's move in then here to the Austrian Grand Prix weekend. So you can see there then the team just getting the tyres ready for the car. I'll be honest, for the first time in this McLaren series, I've actually got to an issue that I thought I'd get a lot earlier on in this championship. The car now, I'm too used to our My Team car, and obviously it can brake a lot later and everything like that. So yeah, I'm actually struggling in towards the corners, at least in free practice anyway, to get the car slowed down where I want it to. So that might be a bit of an issue over the course of qualifying here. But anyway, let's dive in then. One-shot qualifying here from the Austrian Grand Prix circuit. We need to try and get this lap absolutely nailed. It is going to require a lot of concentration to make sure that I don't make that mistake there. You've just got to brake sort of 10-15 metres earlier in towards the corners to make sure we're actually getting it slowed down on to the apex. Obviously, you can't quite maintain the same sort of straight line speed, cornering speed as you can normally there, as you just see running almost deep at the top of the hill. But so far this lap's actually been fairly tidy. A bit of a wobble as we head over the top of the crest there. We should be close to Ferrari and Red Bull over the course of this qualifying lap, as once again just running a little bit deep through that corner there, and just it's going to cost us on the exit down in towards the double left-hander. Just trying to open up the track as much as possible there, actually clipping the wheels over the curbs, but we do keep it tidy. We're back up into about P6 as we head down in towards the final couple of corners. Obviously, we qualified P6 in the French Grand Prix last time out as well, but 2 more corners to go then. Oh, clipping the sausage curb there. Definitely not what I wanted to do. We're going to drop places like a stone up towards the line. I think it's 9th place in the end there. A big bottle at the end of our qualifying run certainly hasn't helped us out in the end there.
We're all ready for tomorrow's race, but before we begin, let's have a quick look at those who will be fronting the grid. Hamilton, Bottas and Charles Leclerc. Well, that wraps up qualifying, but don't worry, we'll be back tomorrow as we head into the Grand Prix.
So there we go then. You can see Max Verstappen looking rather quick this weekend. You can never count him out at the Austrian Grand Prix. But Hamilton on pole once again ahead of his teammate Valtteri Bottas there. Ferrari and Red Bull seem to be back on the money, and we were only 2/10 off our teammate in the end. But still, Alex Albon and Sergio Perez able to out-qualify us there. We were lucky actually to stay ahead of Danny Rick as well. But yeah, not the qualifying session we were after then, but certainly not the end of the world nonetheless. Let's dive in then here for the Austrian Grand Prix.
This is it then, race day in Spielberg for this year's Austrian Grand Prix. The grandstands were a sea of red in 2019 thanks to the commemorative hats in honour of the late great Niki Lauda, who took home victory of course back in 1984. And it's a sellout crowd once again here today. It's one of the shortest laps on the calendar today then, with 7 rights and just 3 lefts, making up the 10 corners of this high-speed circuit. Turn 2 is barely a corner at all. They'll be flat out through there, a left-hand kink into the uphill braking zone of turn 3. Turns 1, 3 and 4 are all potential opportunities to overtake. And as always, a man with plenty of racing experience joins me in the commentary box. Today it's Anthony Davidson. Tell me, Ant, you're no stranger to surviving the melee of turn 1. So how do you keep out of trouble when there's so much going on around you?
There are 3 main things to worry about there, Crofty. Positioning, awareness and discipline. First, you have to put your car in a bit of space and make sure you have room to react to what the others are doing. Then you have to watch your mirrors and listen to the sounds around you to get a sense of where everyone is. And finally, just don't get too greedy. Just because a gap exists doesn't always mean you should go for it.
It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Lewis Hamilton lines up on pole position, and it's Valtteri Bottas that completes the front row. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Verstappen, Sebastian Vettel, and Norris, Albon, Perez, Mr. Monaco, and Daniel Ricciardo, Stroll, Kvyat, Kimi Raikkonen, and Giovinazzi, Magnussen, Gasly, Esteban Ocon, and Roman Grosjean, Russell, and Nicholas Latifi. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Now that we've got some points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
So here we are then on the grid for round 11 of Season 1 of the F1 2020 McLaren Road to Glory. Here from the Austrian Grand Prix, strategy as always meant to be looking rather simple, but our qualifying pace hasn't always been there, so hopefully we can have a bit of a recovery drive in the race. Getting through the first couple of corners absolutely clean with no front wing damage is going to be key to a good race here today. We've got Perez and Albon just in front of us, and then we can just see the rear wing of our teammate Lando Norris as well. But yeah, like I said, hopefully our race pace will carry us this weekend. It has done throughout a lot of the early races this season, but the 5 red lights are coming on now then for the Austrian Grand Prix. It's 5 red lights, and it's lights out, and away we go. Not off to a particularly great start, but neither do a lot of the AI there. A lot of Constantina and up in towards turn 1. We're going to have a look around the outside there. You can see a lot of front wings on the inside, but we keep it clean. We haven't gained anything out of all that, but we are still side by side with Sergio Perez. Alex Albon has moved up a spot off the start there. As you can see, Perez thought about having a look at the inside of our teammate Lando Norris, but once again we're going to try and hook it up around the outside, and that's exactly what we've done this time round. Straight up then into P8 of the Grand Prix for ourselves, as there was yellow flags out at the rear of the field momentarily, but I think that's Charles Leclerc straight up into the lead of the Grand Prix from the second row there, so a fantastic getaway for the Ferrari driver there, up into the lead of the race ahead of Bottas and Lewis Hamilton. Max Verstappen, who, like I said, you can never discount from this Grand Prix, didn't seem to get the best getaway, still sat in P4 as we head down in towards the final couple of corners of lap 1, but it seems like the typical sort of top 8 that we have now got, obviously it used to be 6, it's now 8, with the progress we've made with McLaren this season, is already starting to form here as we head on to lap 2. I'll be honest, I'm not expecting as good a weekend as the last time. Oh, big fishtail through the first corner. That's definitely not going to help us. Perez straight back past us as we head up the hill. We're going to have to use more of our ERS, trying to look back up the inside in towards the corner. But yeah, like I was saying, don't think we'll quite get as good a weekend as we did last time out of Paul Ricard, but hopefully we can keep our head down and still get like a top 5 perhaps if everything goes our way.
We're expecting rain in around 10 to 15 minutes.
Well, that's not what we want to hear then. Rain is predicted towards the end of this Grand Prix. If it was on the radar before the race started, I definitely missed it. So we might see a dramatic finish then to this race if rain is coming, but still a long way before that. Coming through the final corner of lap 4, getting ready to start lap 5 of this Grand Prix. It seems like one of the Mercedes has been able to get back around Charles Leclerc, so I think Mercedes' pace at the front is still just that little bit clear of the rest of the field at the moment, but Lando and I are really just trying to hang on to the coattails of Alexander Albon at the moment. I don't know what it is about this track that is just sort of we're struggling with a bit more than the rest of the field. There is Lando, very, very slow out of turn 3. We might be able to have a look round him as we head back down the hill. He's going to give us the room on the outside. We're certainly going to try and at least look for it. Not quite. Got the downforce, though, to make the move work around the outside. Really just struggling a bit and in the early stages, sorry, I should say, of this race. Just don't quite think the McLaren cuts the mustard this weekend to really match those guys. Lap 6 now. We've got another good run on our teammate. He's still luckily got the DRS of Alex Albon up the road. Oh, big error by myself. We just get caught up as we try to get at the inside of our teammate there. I'm sure Alex Albon isn't too happy with that one as well, but that's going to mean we're going to have to pit the end of this lap onto the set of the medium compounded tyres there. Just got a bit too optimistic on the brakes. Luckily, it wasn't the biggest hit in the world to Albon, but yeah, we're going to have to pit now, get a new front wing on the car as well, but that really hasn't done our race any favours in the early stages. Like I said, I just think we haven't quite got the pace this weekend to match the guys in front of us, and obviously we're still much quicker than the likes of Racing Point and Renault sat behind. Anyway, end of lap 6, can barely get the car turned in to the pit lane there, but we're going to try and get it in nice and tidily in the end. 51 miles an hour. It's all going pear-shaped in this race. I mean, if we can get P8 now, that would probably be a miracle at this stage of the day, but it's all going wrong in the early stages of this Austrian Grand Prix there. Not only did we get involved in an instant, we then didn't get the car slowed down to the pits, we're barely finding the right gear as well. It's all going pear-shaped, like I said, at the moment. Oh, we got yellow flags out. Down at turn 1, it's one of the Ferraris. That seems to have dropped to the wayside there. Not too sure what's going on actually down at turn 1. But yeah, one of the Ferraris has gone round. We've set a new fastest lap of the Grand Prix. It is Sebastian Vettel who appears to be having issues, but it's all been sorted. What is going on to Seb? He seems to have broken down, but he's trying to still keep the car going. Now he finally pulls off to the side of the road there, but Sebastian Vettel out of this Austrian Grand Prix. Somehow, we don't get a safety car from that. Coming to the end of lap 9, making big gains on young Nicholas Latifi here. We're going to start seeing the first few pitters from the front runners here as we head down through the final corner. You can just see how little grip that Williams still has. We're going to have a look to the outside. Another new fastest lap of the Grand Prix, helped by the DRS there as we chop across Latifi's front end. You can see we've still come out a good 3 seconds behind Max Verstappen in this Grand Prix here. Perez is about 4 seconds back, so I don't think we've lost much through the pit window, but Perez, Jeff just coming over the radio saying he's got issues as well, so maybe this could work out still for us. Lap 10, Lando into the pit lane, so hopefully now we'll get a rough idea of whether we've lost any time to our teammate there. Most of the top runners are now coming into the pit, so there might be a little bit of held up and congestion down there, but out through the final corner, we're definitely going to be back up into the points. In fact, it does look like we've made some good gains, actually. There is Lando Norris. So despite the front wing change, then we've got around our teammate. We're all over the back of Alex Albon as we head out of the first corner there. So that's worked out really nicely for us in the end. And yeah, despite the front wing change, as Albon goes defensive, we're going to have a look up the inside. Oh, a very aggressive move. We just overshoot on the exit of the corner there. Albon doesn't exactly give us much room to rejoin, but we're going to try and go back at him again as we head down the hill here. This is a fantastic little battle with the young Thai driver there. Right around the outside we go, though, and we should know Albon does once again get the traction down on the exit there. We've got the inside for the next corner, and now we move ourselves up another spot in this Grand Prix. We've got Charles Leclerc and Verstappen having a bit of a ding-dong as well just up the road there, so both Red Bull cars involved in some side-by-side scraps as we head down in towards the final 2 turns, but both Red Bull cars end up coming out second best in their battles. I saw a little bit of debris there as we get a big wobble out of the final corner as well, so perhaps someone's got some front wing damage. Who's that holding up the rest of the field there? You can see there's just 4 cars. It's Kvyat doing an absolute worldie for us. We might be able to get a run of Verstappen out of all this. Look at this side by side as we head out of the first couple of corners here. We are going to be able to move back past the Red Bull as well. There is Charles Leclerc just jinks out in front of us in the braking zone, and once again, it appears that we've got front wing damage in this Grand Prix. We get the move done nonetheless, but not happy with Charles Leclerc in that instant. We've got to go to the end of the race, though. We cannot afford to pit again here. As, yeah, Danny Capure, I thought was doing us a worldie. Charles Leclerc has rather put pay to that as we head down the hill. And why isn't Bottas going for a move? Surely there's an opportunity there. Charles Leclerc having a look back up the inside. We certainly don't want to give this one up unless we absolutely have to there. Through the second part of the double left-hander there, you can see still Capure and Bottas having a massive defensive battle there, and Charles Leclerc's going to get held up by Danny Capure as well as we head down in towards the pit lane. It's all kicking off in this Grand Prix, but out of all of that, Hamilton is about 7 seconds up the road now. He looks set in this race to make it 4 wins in a row. Meanwhile, we're just turning it now into limp home mode again. 6 laps to go to the end of this Grand Prix. It's been rather chaotic all of a sudden.
Gonna hit in around 5 minutes time, so stay on your toes.
And the team is still saying that we're going to get some rain in about 5 minutes. Hopefully, that'll force the other drivers into a little bit of a strategy dilemma. We want to just go to the end of the race, irrespective, but often nowadays I've noticed on F1 2020, the AI happy to try and brave it out in some slippery conditions on dry rubber. Oh, Charles Leclerc back into the pit lane then, so clearly that front wing damage that he had has really cost him in this Grand Prix. Obviously, we've got to remember we still do have that 5-second penalty here, so I think still we're going to be looking to try and beat the likes of the Renault of Ricciardo, who is sat in, I think now, what would that be, P6, so an absolute disaster weekend for Ferrari in the end. They look to be back on the pace, and it really hasn't gone their way today. Sebastian Vettel out, Charles Leclerc down in last place in this race. 3 laps to go then here of the Austrian Grand Prix, and you can see it is getting very overcast around this Spielberg circuit here. It does open up a bit of an interesting dynamic though, because obviously myself and the likes of Lando, Albon and Danny Rick are all still sort of in this battle, obviously, with my 5-second time penalty here. So if it does start raining on the final lap and those guys really start struggling, it could really come in handy for us if the track's just getting wetter and wetter really quickly here. But I'm still not optimistic it's going to rain just in time. Oh, there we go. There is the flash of rain as we head in towards the final lap of this Grand Prix. We've got Verstappen looking very feisty behind us. Obviously, he doesn't really need to go for anything in this Grand Prix. He will have the P3 either way, so there's no real point in him risking it. But is this rain going to make any big changes at the end of this Grand Prix? Verstappen's going to have a look up the inside in towards turn 1. We're absolutely not going to fight this whatsoever there. There really is just no point, but if he's just going to sit there on the exit, we may as well try and use the DRS to get back around him here. But still, it's been another torrid day out for Ferrari. We're completely out of ERS as we head up the hill in towards turn 2. But is this wet weather going to create any drama in the end? Charles Leclerc just snags my fastest lap bonus point away from us. I completely forgot about that in this race, but the rain is definitely starting to pour here. It hasn't affected the grip levels too much at the moment, but you can see just how much Lando and Albon have been able to close up to us as Verstappen, he goes for a move up the inside, and nothing we can do to defend from that with the front wing damage here. Down in towards the final few corners, it's not really the most heartbreaking of moves, like I said, because of the 5-second penalty there. Hamilton, though, is going to make it 4 wins in a row in the F1 career mode there. Bottas takes fastest lap through the final one, despite the rain started to come in, but it's going to be, I think, P6 for ourselves. Yes, it is in the end. We will have to take it. We still beat both Ferraris. That's the most important thing.
That's it then for another spectacular Grand Prix here at Austria, and a truly magnificent drive to hang on and take the win. So Anthony, what made the difference out there today?
I think that smart tyre management on track and very smooth driving definitely assisted in their victory today. That combination meant they got the absolute maximum out of their tyres at all times.
And I can see the drivers starting to approach the podium for the victory celebrations. A real team victory today. Everybody played their part. Congratulations then to Mercedes, your race winners today. So then, it's time to see how this result affects the Drivers' Championship. More points for Valtteri Bottas, further solidifying his lead at the top of the table. After an incredible day of racing, who was your driver of the day, Ant?
Definitely Antonio Giovinazzi, isn't it? No matter what the rest of the field threw at him, he didn't put a foot wrong. Superb drive from him.
Let's move on to the constructors. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
So there we are then, guys, the end of the Austrian Grand Prix. And it is Hamilton and Bottas 1-2, full 44 points for Mercedes. Hardly any surprises there, I think, from the Brackley-based organisation there. Verstappen gets another podium at the Red Bull Ring there. I'm sure he's rather happy with that one, especially considering he made that move work on me right at the end there. But Lando Norris in P4 ahead of Albon and myself. We'll take P6 in the end. Not quite the best result in the world. Like we said, I was actually quite surprised with the pace during the second half of the Grand Prix, though. I felt if Charles Leclerc hadn't moved over in front of me, perhaps there was a chance of a little bit more in that race there. But P6, 20 points for the team. We will have to take it and look towards the next one there. Ricciardo, 7th best of the rest, ahead of Stroll, Giovinazzi and Sergio Perez, rounding out the top 10 there. You can see the only real surprises further down the order was, of course, Charles Leclerc, who only finished P16, and then obviously Sebastian Vettel not making it to the checkered flag there. George Russell up in 15th place, a good job done by him for Williams there. But constructors-wise, though, it means that we do actually get the jump on Sebastian Vettel up into 4th place in the Drivers' World Championship, despite that rough result there. Hamilton is now up into P2, 49 points behind his teammate Valtteri Bottas here, but he is looking absolutely unstoppable at the moment. Could he close up the gap to his teammate? Only time will tell there. Verstappen still 6th place ahead of Lando, and you can see Albon and Ricciardo now tied for 8th place as well there, but Ricciardo gets it on count back. No other swappers, though, down the rest of the field. Still just Kvyat and both Williams yet to score there. And constructors-wise, we do take some good points out of Ferrari as well, though. The gap back now down to just 52 points as Ferrari 100 off Mercedes, Red Bull 200 off Mercedes as well there. Renault still in 5th ahead of Racing Point, Alfa, Haas, AlphaTauri and Williams there, rounding out the Constructors' Championship as well. But thank you all so much for watching this video. If you did enjoy, do make sure you get yourself subscribed. And yeah, we will be back very, very soon for round 12 of the season, where we head to our home race, the team's home race, Lando's home race. We'll be ready for the British Grand Prix. You guys do not want to miss it. A big thank you to our channel members for making these videos possible. You can be featured in these end clips, as well as granted access to some other exclusive perks for just £1 a month by clicking the join button below.